Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Thriving with Diversity. And today's episode, I have an incredibly inspiring woman, and Monique is somebody who's traveled a lot. She has seen many cultures and worked with so many different companies. And when you think about the word diversity, you really have to think about Monique because she's a woman in leadership and an entrepreneur. And there's just so much to learn from her today. So really get excited and stay tuned as Monique introduces herself to us.
You so humbled. So it's very interesting to be on the other side. So normally I'm the person who is like featuring people. So for that reason, it's kind of interesting for me to talk about me more, because most likely I feature people to be on stage. Yeah. So that's kind of a different role. And thank you so much for giving me this experience here. So what do you want to know? So let us maybe start with where I am right now, or do you want to start in the beginning where I started with my first leadership role, or what is?
Wherever you feel comfortable. If you want to start from where you are right now, or if you want to go all the way back to the beginning,
I think the beginning is a good starting point. So, I did my very basic apprenticeship as I finished my school in Germany, where I grew up and lived my first 20 years. And I got kind of picked from someone who was interested in me to develop me as a very young female leader at the age of 20. And I started with 20 my own travel agency construct, which was first one travel agency, and within like 5 years 4 travel agencies in average, with 20 or 25 employees. And since I was very young, I learned very young to develop people in order to have qualified and motivated people. And I always picked people and give them the second chance to really have kind of a diversity in my team, and not the basic standard people who most likely worked in travel agencies at that time. So, and that's what I did for 20 years. And this time I not only developed my own travel agencies, I also was responsible to develop kind of a franchise system and support people who want to own their own travel agency with training and leadership development and stuff like this. And then after travel agencies experienced the first crisis in 2001 after 9/11, we decided, after almost 16, 17 years, it was enough. And we decided to do an adventure and moved with a 4-year-old and a baby to Dubai. So we always were very impressed about Dubai, and because Dubai is, and that's, I think, why we picked Dubai. My husband and I, we always felt very global. And for us, kind of Germany was a little bit too conservative in expecting people from different cultures. And Dubai is, I think there is no other place like Dubai where every nation has a space, since the local people are 16% of the whole
the whole population.
Population, exactly. So that was why we got so attracted of this area. And this was like 2005, where Dubai was really booming. Constructions, buildings came up, and the whole infrastructure was built at that time. And people moved from every part of the world, like South Africa, Asia, Pakistan, Great Britain. So people from everywhere came to Dubai, and this was kind of a melting pot. And it was a very interesting experience working with this people from different nations. So we had like a team of every nation in the world, and that was very interesting. Yeah,
that was diversity. So what am I getting from you? From a very young age, you found somebody who believed in you, and somebody who empowered you to be a leader at a young age, right? And what you did was you paid it forward as you created your companies. It was important for you to take people and develop them so that they can work from their place of power.
Absolutely, yeah.
And to develop a team that kind of speaks and meets at eye level. And then moving forward, it was very important for you to find yourself in a society which was open and accepting to a lot of people. And that is why you both decided to move from Germany to go to Dubai, which was the home for everybody.
Yeah, no, so exactly that's my personal trigger. These are two perspectives, and this is ever since. So ever since I started my own businesses and traveled and worked, whether as an entrepreneur, as in companies, was always the part of empowering people and developing people, as well as living diversity. Like after Dubai, we lived in Switzerland, near to Zurich, and I worked for a big travel company. That was the first experience I felt like a foreign person. I never had this before and never after since, but at that time in Switzerland, it was really, I felt as the alien kind of person, like the foreign person in a very conservative team where diversity, I was diverse at that time.
In Switzerland, which is just like next door.
Which is just like next door. It was a very interesting experience and something I really think it wasn't easy at that time, but it was a great experience taking this to my career after that, because living now in the US and in between in Qatar and Germany and then in the US, I think it's so important to understand what you have to do on both sides, right? So what you have to do on the side as, for example, here in the US, where people come from Germany to work in the US, but also what local people have to do in order to welcome expats, for example.
Yeah.
As well as what I am doing as a foreign person living in this country to respect the culture, the traditions and stuff like this. So I really discovered diversity from every angle, like being a young woman, as a leadership woman and business owner, living abroad, teaching people diversity and leadership, coming from other countries and working in other countries. So it's basically, so then from Dubai we lived in Switzerland, we went back to Germany, we lived in Qatar, and in 2014 we immigrated to the US and started meanwhile 3 companies here in the US. So that's a short version, of course. And I can talk for 3 hours.
That is, it's just extremely impressive, because what I'm getting from you is really, really being everywhere and being at home everywhere, and what it takes to actually be home in a different country. Because in my case, moving from Kenya to Germany, it was difficult to find my footing here, and you've done that over and over again in different countries. So if I'm going to take you back to Switzerland, because you talked about feeling extremely alienated, feeling very, very, very different in a country which is literally next door to your home country. So what are some of the challenges that you faced there, if I may ask?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing is, when you move in a different country, you are the person who have to give respect for a different culture. And I think in Switzerland, it's a lot of Germans are coming and working in Switzerland, and they think exactly what you said. They say it's right across the border, right? They understand and speak basically German, so they are the same like us. And this is how German people often start working and living in Switzerland. But it's not true, because people, they do have a totally different culture, and they do have totally different ways how they approach things. For example, it's tradition to go together to, when you work, you go together to lunch, and it's expected to join. And at that lunch, it's expected that you have a wine. If you order like a soft drink, that's a no-go, right? There are specific rules that you can't do your laundry on weekends, and that you have to bring out the garbage in the morning and not the evening before. And these are very tiny little things you don't know before you really experience this culture, but you have to get to know about this tiny little things and respect this. And so many people don't do this, and that's why they have this assumption already that you are not respecting their culture. And that's what often happens everywhere, right? It's the same in the US. When Germans are coming in the US, they think, oh yes, it's America, they are easygoing with everything, right? And it's not, because they have different traditions. You are not giving direct feedback in different situations, or you are not talking about specific topics in interviews or stuff like this. So and this is the secret sauce, kind of, to really know about what is you have to adjust, and you have to learn about what's going on in this country.
You have to be unique cultural literacy, I call it.
Yes,
definitely, in every country that you are in. So what helped you overcome some of the challenges in all these different countries? What were your 3 points where you say, if I was going to do this over again, these are the 3 things I would do differently, or these are my superpowers to actually make it through?
I think the first really shift is, and it was interesting, we talked about this earlier, is that I always think I have to explain myself. And you know this, right? It's kind of, and when you said this weeks back, this is the thing when you come like me. Of course, I do have a German accent, right? And you always have to say, yes, I'm from Germany, I'm from Munich, I immigrated, and you have the whole story. And then it takes like over and over that they see what your experience are. But first of all, they see, oh, maybe she is not using the right word, and she has a bad German accent, right? But they don't see that I have a long experience in leadership, and I'm a businesswoman, and I'm teaching people something, and what really stands for me, because in the first thing they really see, that's the German here in the US. And I think this is the place where I put myself as well, of course. Right? It's on one side charming, but on the other side, I avoid some discussions, because I don't want that people just see that picture for me and not the entrepreneur,
the competent you.
The competent.
So what I'm getting is it was always difficult to kind of shine with what makes you, because it's just it's not the German accent.
I remember when I first started my first job, right when we immigrated. Of course, my English was my accent was even worse than right now. But I started in a German company with, of course, American colleagues, and it took really a while to that they acknowledged my experience. Right? It's You have to be aware that whenever you move in a different country or join a different team, that it takes time, and you have to, be patient, that you can show who you are and what you can bring to the team. And I think this is a very critical part for every intercultural team, and a lot of intercultural problems, because someone is coming with a lot of experience and the other one is not seeing this in the first place.
Yes, and that's a very critical point that you've actually addressed. It's something that I totally resonate to, because how do you get people to see beyond, in my case, to see beyond the fact that I'm a Black woman, I come from Africa, and my German is always going to have an accent, to look way beyond that and buy my competence for what it is. So what can you share with my audience? What is that one tip that you can give people today, that, hey, this is what you need to do in such a case?
I think the shift has to be inside yourself. So you have to do the shift by yourself, because of course everybody you can't change the people around you, but you can have the self-confidence that you say, okay, yeah, that's my accent, but I do have this experience, and I can teach things, and I can things in people, right? It's the shift has to be in yourself, and it's kind of a self-confidence you have to be aware of, and maybe also talk about that. Yeah, maybe I think you have to talk way more and show more, and be more open to talk about what your experience are. And sometimes it's tiring, kind of, that you say, oh, I don't want to say it again, like you, right? Like, I have this education, I have this background, I have this knowledge, and it's very exhausting, but it's like taking them in your world, and that's up to you and not up to them. You can't expect that they see it in the first step. It's your
that is so true, and in my own experience, it's the process, that process of being centered and established within yourself, because as you said, you have to be so centered and established within yourself to be able to just stand there and go like, hey, I am much more than what you just see on the surface, right? And that process can be extremely exhausting, and sometimes trying to actually be okay with your authentic you, with all your flaws and all that, it's I know that's I know, right?
Totally.
No,
Totally.
great.
But it's a learning experience, and so many people really got frustrated at that point and pushing back. And I think this is really one point to say: don't push back, centered, and be self-confident, and say it like 100 times, and then it's a fine, and try to get a pitch out, right? Learning your pitch, and trying to be yourself, and but also give people the time to learn that. I think that's point number one. Point number two is you are coming in a different culture, and that's the point. You are the person who has the responsibility to learn about that culture. And I think this is what, especially as native German, I can say this, we are not good in doing this, like the German culture. So we are traveling around the world, and we are saying, hey, we are the Germans. We can everything. We have a good education, and we are the best of the Schützenfest, right? So that's like our mentality, and we are well known for what we can, of course. But when I move abroad, I am the person who first has to learn about the culture and to acknowledge that the US have good things in business culture, that Dubai has good things in business culture. And so that's really, and I'm sometimes ashamed of some German folks moving abroad, because they are coming, especially, I mean, I'm working with many German companies in the US, people moving from Germany to the US, and they are coming, and on the first day they are saying, I am. And I think this is a big mistake. And I think they have to learn, and they have to acknowledge different cultures, and giving the respect of this culture. I think this is point number two. And point number three, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's what it's learning, right? It's learning together. It's learning about diversity, why diversity is such a beautiful, interesting thing for us, and why we have to be more open in general, wherever we live, whoever we are working with, just to be open and learn about why are you doing things different? Why, for example, why is a diverse perspective in projects important, that people see things different, and why is it good to have a diverse team, and what is the benefit out of this? I think this is kind of this openness would be my third point in that.
Okay, great. So you're talking about being centered and established in your own self. And you've also talked about having the patience to give the other culture time to understand where you're coming from. Take time to understand the culture that you're moving to and respect it as well. And also read and know the importance and be open to diversity, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great takeaways from you, Monique. A lot of takeaways. Thank you for sharing your corporate experience with us. And I have been blessed to actually take part in your Equilibrium leadership course, which I can absolutely recommend to every leader out there. It is a course that empowers you as a leader to really tap deep into yourself and to lead from your place of power. And could you please share a little bit about this course and how you found your purpose in empowering
us? Me that I am teaching them leadership, and what is leadership, right? What leadership is not like learning about how to communicate. It's not about a method or about something which is structured, because leadership starts by yourself. How can you lead a team if you can't lead yourself, right? If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't, if your drive inside yourself is like overwhelmed with all information and blocked with too much work and with too much stress, right? And so many people so many leaders are really not focused on themselves first. They are focused on processes, and they even are not focused on people, right? And we move this shift totally. We created, me and my partners, and we have a very diverse background. My partner, Marion, she's coming from Ayurveda and yoga. So we combine also very old leadership philosophies, because yoga is leadership philosophy. Many models in the modern world in leadership are coming out of these philosophies. Interesting, but nobody knows, right? So we combining very old leadership philosophies and mindfulness philosophies and bringing this into modern leadership and modern organizations. So it's really a mix of both. And that's why we picked the name Equilibrium, which means like in balance, be in balance in your role, in balance in leadership, and balanced also, like sometimes in meditation is the right thing, but sometimes a great tool is the right thing. And we want to fulfill both. So from both sides. And it's really, we are working on that like beginning this year. We created some online courses, and we already had this year a couple of great clients. We saw fantastic results, and it's amazing. It's like not work, it's like passion. So
I know that. And one thing I really loved about these courses, it's not, I mean, there are some leadership courses that you take, which are basically for seasoned leaders and established leaders, but your Equilibrium is for emerging leaders as well. It's for every single leader. You really find yourself in there. So I thought
it goes deeper. It's not a management course. We do have management elements, but it's really a leader's course. And that's how we understand the name leadership. I mean, it's a big word, but diversity it's a big leader thing. leadership thing. So leaders have to, you asked me for the 3 points of diversity, and that's a thing which needs to be in every leadership course, right? That needs to be taught to leaders, as well as being mindful as well, but also like how to lead a virtual team. And there are so many parts what leaders in this modern world needs, but a big portion is to be open for new ways and not like focusing on just methods.
Yeah, absolutely. Be intentional about just being open.
Yeah.
For new things. Yeah. Absolutely. Great. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Monique, for sharing your insights, your story, and your passion with us. And would you like to, what would be the last words that you would like to share with my network?
Yeah, I think, thank you so much for inviting me. That's, and I think this is kind of also our connection and also equilibrium. So many people are in a very dark and sad space because of this year and because what happens that year. And I really I understand this, but I'm totally different because I had so many interesting conversations this year, filled of great knowledge, filled with a lot of passion and heart. And I think this is probably my last message. So open your heart for different cultures, for different experience, for new learnings, for new things coming up. I know for a lot of people, it was a hard year and it will be even a harder year next year. But I think if you open your heart for different mentalities, for different cultures, different experience, right? New things, it's going to be a fantastic year. And I think this is my last point and message.
Wow. Oh my God. I can absolutely add nothing to that. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Open your heart to different cultures, to different people, and magic does happen when you do that, right? Absolutely love it. So thank you so much for being here on the show today, Monique. I mean, there's so much gold that you have shared with us today, and I so look forward to hosting you another time. Hopefully you will come back again.
Always. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, Monique.
Bye.